All right, well, my first guest today is TV host Kayla Braxton, whose career has taken off since she graduated from Nashville's Belmont University in 2013. The following year, she began hosting Orlando My Way, a Central Florida entertainment series for West 2 News. Most recently, Kayla joined the universe of World Wrestling Entertainment, better known as the WWE, as a host for NXT live events. As impressive as her professional resume is, though, wait till you hear her personal life story to be truly inspired. And she's joining me now to talk about it all. Hey, Kayla, welcome to the show.
Hey, Whitt, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. A little tired. Been on the road a
Yeah.
lot lately, but
Right. Well, I know you stay very busy, so thanks for taking the time to chat with me today. I really appreciate it, and I really wanted to have you on because I've been following your work for a while, and I was a really big fan of your work with Orlando My Way. I love theme parks. I'm a big Walt Disney World fan, been going since I was like 4 years old. And so there you were, covering all things Orlando, and I was just all about it. Gotta know this, though. Was that job as fun as it looked?
I mean, it was fun. My first day, and I actually ran into my former boss here recently, and making fun of me. The first day on the job, they hand me season tickets to all the theme parks in Orlando.
Job perk.
Exactly, job perk. It was a really, really fun job. It definitely was one of those jobs, like you said, you look at and you're like, man, I wish I had that job. But there's a lot of behind the scenes work that no one really knew was going on, to the point where today I have no desire to go to the theme parks.
Wow.
It
Gotcha.
was, and I was a one man band. You know what that is?
Right.
Running around in my high heels in the 100+ degree Florida heat, with the tripod and the camera, trying to get interviews, and so it was fun, but it was a lot of work.
I'm sure. Well, and talk about some of the events and things you got to cover because I mean you were doing some big stories. Like I think you covered the opening of Diagon Alley at Wizarding World. I mean, talk about some of the stories you covered while doing that show.
I mean, yeah, like with the theme park stories, the theme parks are always doing something big. And so, of course, I was here during Diagon Alley opening and being one of the first people to walk through there. I mean, that was so cool. So all my friends who are Harry Potter, geeks were freaking out and jealous. And so that was super cool. Disney never really, doesn't let a lot of people inside the Cinderella castle.
Mm-hmm.
But I did a whole like inside look of the Cinderella castle. So we went in, we talked about the bathroom and the bathtubs and the beds and the magic mirrors. And so there were some really cool things I got to do that not a lot of people get to do.
Right. Yeah. Now, your current gig is in sports entertainment with WWE. And for anyone who might not know much about professional wrestling or may have misconceptions, what's it all about and what has it been like to step into that brand? Because I know the fan base is like really hardcore.
Yeah, man, like I never would have dreamed that I'd be working for the WWE. I got to say, I didn't even know really much about what it was when they reached out for me to work there. But I did know that the company was becoming so mainstream, which is like taking over the entertainment industry by storm. Like you have they have two shows on E News. You see them on like late night talk shows.
Dancing with the
Yeah,
Stars.
exactly, absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I joined, and it has been one of. I mean, I wake up and I'm like, this is what I do for a living, and it blows my mind. The WWE superstars are ridiculous athletes. You have all these people who aren't educated, and it's fine, but people who aren't educated about WWE are like, oh, it's all fake, blah 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 blah. Like, there may be a lot of storyline elements into it, but what these guys and girls are doing inside of these rings, are like the furthest thing from, I mean, fake. People are getting sent to the hospital and bleeding, and like this is real stuff that's
Yeah.
happening. And then it's like my job to be running backstage and interviewing them about what happened and delivering the news to the crowd. It's so, and then the traveling. I'm on the road most of the time, traveling the world with superstars, seeing the world. I'm going places I never would have gotten to go before, and so I'm going to be around for a little bit. This company is something that I kind of want to see through for a while.
in case any of your fans are listening and want to get to know you a little bit better, I thought I'd ask you some rapid fire questions. And this is a segment I like to call a Whitt from Whitt minute. So it's a lightning round. You've got 1 minute to answer as many of these quick questions as you can. And I'm going to set the timer on my phone. Are you down for this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Going to click start here. So here we go. And we're off. Favorite emoji?
The little like sly looking to one side. The smirk.
Okay. Celebrity crush?
Jason Statham.
Hidden talent?
Hidden talent? Gosh, I don't think I have any.
Best subject in school?
Probably like English.
Worst subject in school?
Math.
Biggest pet peeve?
People, if I can hear you chewing.
Guilty pleasure TV show?
Probably actually Vanderpump Rules.
Okay. Dream vacation?
Just some like tropical island somewhere.
All right. Morning person or night owl?
I'm a morning person.
Call or text?
A text.
Biggest fear?
Spiders.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Ooh, a chocolate.
Favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Favorite sports team?
Auburn Tigers.
All right. And there goes the timer. So that's what we got for you there. To transition into your life story now, I do have one more kind of get to know you question of sorts. And that is, if you wrote an autobiography on your life so far, what would the title be?
I actually thought about it before, and a title I've played around with is called Abandoned Royalty.
Abandoned Royalty. Very nice. Okay. I think you have a very inspirational life story. And spoiler alert, it involves Chick-fil-A, President George W. Bush, and foster care. So let's start with the latter there. When did your journey in foster care begin, and how did it ultimately change your life?
Yeah, so I was 9 years old, and I was living in Austin, Texas. And my mother, unfortunately, was getting sent to prison. And we were initially going to be sent to me and my younger sister to a boarding school in Hershey, Pennsylvania. But then some like a long lost step aunt that I'd never met before worked for Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A, in his home headquarters in Atlanta, and mentioned to my mother about wind-shaped foster care. And so I think the court granted my mother the option to place us before we were taken from her and placed. And so that was an extremely fortunate situation. And so, yeah, when I was 9, this was back in 2000, if my math is correct. Yeah, we made the journey to Wadley, Alabama. And I moved into the foster family.
What would you say, I mean, just based on all of your success, or in terms of your success, do you feel like you have defied, I guess, stereotypes for foster youth, maybe?
Well, yeah, I mean, even if you look at a lot of foster youth, and you even look at the foster youth that have been raised in the same program, who receive the same nurturing and encouragement as I have, the issue comes, at the end of the day, it's going to be how each individual foster youth wants their lives to turn out. And so, unfortunately, what you see in a pattern is that a lot of foster youth are like, well, I'm just a foster kid. And so people aren't going to expect much of me. And so therefore I'm not going to apply myself because no one expects me to anyway.
Right.
And there was even a time when I was interning at the American Bar Association in DC, along with a lot of other foster youth, just from different foster programs around the country. And I know some of the kids were getting really loud and rowdy, but I heard these two women walk by and just kind of look at us with like this look of disgust and like judgment. And I heard one say to the other, "Oh, what do you expect? They're just a bunch of foster kids." And that moment, I was like, no. Like, I refuse to be defined as just a foster kid and then therefore be excused for bad decisions. And so I think more than anything, I'm a very stubborn person. If anyone knows me, I'm stubborn, I'm hard-headed, but that I think is what's gotten me to where I am now. And so them looking down on me, and then the past people saying, "You're never going to make it because of XYZ." And my mother's boyfriends back in the day who would say you were going to be nothing more than your mom. It's like, no, we're going to be, I want to inspire others who've gone through what I have, that we're going to be more than a statistic and not just be what people expect us to be, and actually start laying this foundation for other foster kids where people look at us and be like, wow, we need to take a better look at them because, they've had a hard life and they don't expect the handouts, and they're going to work hard and they're going to be somebody.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be that example so that I could start hopefully starting a little bit of a movement.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I definitely think you are being a great example for that, and that's amazing. And because for you, I mean, kind of growing up in foster care there for a while, that was a positive experience.
It was. And, not a lot of, I mean, I was very, very fortunate. Like, people don't realize how awful the foster care system can be.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these foster parents out there, not in my organization, but out there, who take in kids just because they know they're going to be getting money from the government, who treat the kids like horribly and abuse the kids and neglect the kids and use them as like just household slaves, basically. And like several of the foster youth who are now in Winship came from that. Like, I was lucky where I wasn't in foster care before I was placed, but there have been kids who are just bounced around all over the place. And so luckily, Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A, started this organization with a vision to give children who needed a home permanent placement, and for it not to feel like a foster home, for it to feel like a family.
And this family you were placed in, I mean, that is your family.
That is my mom and dad. That's who I call mom and dad. Those are my siblings. That's where I go home for the holidays. That is my family.
Awesome. Okay, and getting back to how you got to this career, growing up, what sparked your interest and then eventually, your passion and dream to pursue broadcasting?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a crazy, but I mean, it's a cool story. And like back before I moved to the foster family, it was a negative environment where no one ever really encouraged me or told me I was good at anything. So I never tried anything. I was in actually not a lot of people know this about me, but I was actually in special ed prior to moving into the foster family. Not because I was dumb, but because I either didn't show up to school, didn't apply myself at school. I didn't want a home making me, so my grades were just awful. They put me in a special ed program. So when I moved to Wadley, Alabama, in the foster family, there's this program called 4-H. What you may be aware of it because you're from the South.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So we were required to do something in 4-H, whether it be sewing or ag or whatever. And I, for some reason, chose public speaking. I think at the time I'm like, well, that's the easiest and the least amount of work. So I wrote a speech. I didn't tell my foster parents I was doing it because I was afraid I'd fail and disappoint them. And I went up in front of the class and did the speech, and it was me telling them my story. And that was kind of the first time I'd really let them see who I was, this new kid that came from nowhere. And I won. First thing I'd ever won in my life. I got this big purple ribbon, and I got off the school bus that day, and it was like that scene from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory where he gets the golden ticket and he's running all the way home. Can't wait to to tell. I was like that with the bus dropped me off my driveway, and I'm running down yelling, "I won!" And my foster parents were like, "What did you win?" And I told them, and they were so proud. Like, I had never felt someone be so proud of me before. And at that moment, I realized this is what makes people proud of me. This is what I'm going to do. And so I continued competing in public speaking through high school, kept winning competitions. Truett Cathy received the Presidential Volunteer Service Award from President George W. Bush. Mm-hmm. And he chose to take me along with him and speak on his behalf. And we met Bush, and we hung out in the Oval Office.
Wow.
And that was amazing. And then it was a no-brainer for me at that point. I was going to go study mass communications wherever I ended up going to college.
Is there any advice, I guess you'd give to me or any of my fellow mass comm graduates who are aspiring to work in broadcasting?
It is very great. Those of us who've graduated from college, this is a great accomplishment, but that does not show what you can do out in the real world.
Right.
And so show what you can do. Like, get your resume ready. Your resume needs to always be up to date and ready. Your portfolio needs to always be up to date and ready. You need to be constantly proactive and like, this is amazing what you're doing. Like, constantly be proactive. So that way, if someone's like, hey, send me something you've done. It's not like you're sending them something you did 2 years ago. Like, be on top of it. Like, constantly be working. Second thing, my grandfather, Grandpa Truett, always had a saying. And it was, a good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. And the entertainment industry can be dirty. And we are seeing that a lot. And people can play dirty. And people will tarnish their names and their reputations to get on top. Mm. And sometimes you will see people around you who get to the top faster, but they're doing it in a very negative way. When you get to where you're going, no matter how well known and well you're doing, never forget where you come from and who you are, and never sacrifice your morals just to get ahead. Because at the end of the day, those people, as we're seeing right now happening in this industry, who've made it to the top, are falling faster than they got there.
Mm.
But the people who did it with, morals and have kept their dignity and their self-respect and have treated people with respect are going to be around for a long time and be respected while doing so. And when their career is done one day, when they're 80, they'll be remembered for how well they treated the people around them.
Wow.
And that is something I am learning big time in this business.
Sure. Yeah. Wow, that was like a very Oprah moment right there. Amazing. Great. But before we finish here, I think people who are listening are definitely going to want to check you out if they're not already following you. So, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so Instagram, like I said, that's my stuff. I'm on Instagram. I'll probably overpost. It is going to be my WWE name, so Kayla Braxton WWE. It's pretty much consistent along all platforms, so that's where you can follow along the crazy journeys of the wrestling world.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kayla Braxton, Kayla Becker, thanks so much for talking with me today and sharing your story. I really appreciate it. And I want to say congrats on all of your success and best wishes for the future as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Whitt, and good luck with everything you're doing. This is awesome.
Thank you.
I have known very well who you were or who you are for just as long as I think you've known who I was.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Keep me posted on everything you've got going on. If you ever need anything else, let me know.
I will definitely do that. Thanks, Kayla.
All right. Thanks, Whitt.
Well, thanks to social media, it's no secret that Nashville tourists and residents alike gather at 12th Avenue South for a trendy photo op. That's the location of the original I Believe in Nashville mural from DCXV Industries. Sure, it's viewed as a touristy attraction by some, but for others it's a symbol of Nashville pride, as it features the Tennessee state flag tri-star.
It was just a design I had that I was like, I don't really know what to do with this design. Let me put it up as a mural and see what happens.
However, in the past year, this iconic piece of art was, at times, no longer a picture-perfect backdrop after it was vandalized on 2 different occasions.
There's always going to be setbacks and negative things in life. You just kind of got to roll with it.
Shortly after the first incident, I had the opportunity to speak with the designer behind I Believe in Nashville for a news story I did in school. His name is ADRIEN SAPORITI, and he's also owner of the mural's corresponding apparel brand. We spoke outside of the DCXV retail shop about the creation and success of his artwork and business.
It was 2011. I left my job and was thinking, I'll just do design stuff full time, and I'd done like a few festivals and stuff, so it occurred to me that in starting a design-based business, I should probably have a portfolio. So I just spent a couple months at the end of the year designing, and in that process hit on the I Believe in Nashville design, and it didn't really seem like, to me at the time anyways, like a good idea. Like, I don't know if this will be, if this would make a good shirt or anything. So I was like, I don't know what to do with this. And then I saw the wall in 12 South, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll put up a mural.
Adrian is a Nashville native and says while the mural he created in 2012 is not a direct response to the town's 2010 flood, he was inspired by the civic engagement that followed a natural disaster in Music City.
It kind of, like a lot of things artistically, there's a lot of things that kind of come together to create it. And for me, certainly around that time, end of 2011, beginning of 2012, you'd already started to see a lot of political, I hesitate to use the word propaganda, but from all the different parties, the presidential race was starting to heat up, and so you started to see a lot of American flags, a lot of red, white, and blue, a lot of themes like that, and so that kind of played into this idea of like, well, what if I could create something that use these things that we're inundated with since birth, basically. Most countries don't put their flag everywhere. It's actually pretty uncommon, but here in America, it's like everywhere has got the American flag. So it's like, how could I take these themes and kind of use that and play with that to do sort of the opposite. Rather than say, hey, they're bad and I'm good, what if there was a way to like use these themes and make something that everybody could relate to, that wasn't political at all? And so that's sort of the idea. And at first it was a little tongue-in-cheek, right? I started with the idea of Nashville for Robertson and Nashville for Donaldson, right? Pitted these two fake candidates against each other. And then it was like, well, it's still kind of playing on the political idea. So then it became Nashville for Nashville, and then eventually was I Believe in Nashville. And it's, again, it pulls from all these different themes, but really it's meant as an apolitical thing that everybody, whether you're like myself, you're from here, or maybe you're just visiting for the weekend and you're having a really good time and you walk by and, oh, hey, that's a cute mural, let's take a photo. And then you go home and that's what you post on Facebook or you remember from your trip. Like, I think however it relates to you, the idea that this image can give you a connection to the city and bring you together, even if you're wildly different people, was sort of the idea. Maybe it's a little pie in the sky, but I like to think, it's just something positive.
And that positive image has become an icon through a bigger cultural movement of social media image. As a result, many other murals have popped up in Nashville and are keeping our Instagram feeds aesthetically pleasing as we strike a pose for more likes. Oh, and celebrities are in on the trend too.
Well, Reese Witherspoon, but she also built a building right next to it, so there's that. Geez, a lot of the Nashville cast has gone to take their picture with it. Leona Lewis, that was kind of random. It was like, what are you doing in town, Leona Lewis? Do you want to meet up for some coffee, Leona Lewis? Right. No. Ben Savage, like that's my childhood right there. That one right there, I'm like, oh man, you've made it when Corey Matthews likes what you do.
So the OG I Believe in Nashville is located at 12 South, but it's not the only DCXV artwork you'll find in Music City.
There's one on the side of Center 615 on Main Street here in East Nashville. It looks like an old school TV busy signal. That one's called Stay Tuned. There's an alley that's next to Three Brothers Coffee off West End, and that's it's basically, I call them hieroglyphs because it's a bunch of symbols, some of them made up, some of them from everyday life, and they're meant to look like hieroglyphics, but they do not relate to each other or make any sense at all, hence the glitches.
And if you're wondering about the name of the business, here's the story behind it.
So the name is actually 615 in Roman numerals. I was, after college, considering moving somewhere else, and thought several of my friends had gotten Nashville or Tennessee tattoos, so I thought maybe I'll get one of those for represent the hometown wherever I am. And I was like, I don't know if I'm really want to get like a state outline or anything like that, and I'm certainly not cool enough or hard enough to just have 615 in numerals, so it's like, I'll do Roman numerals. And then I just realized I'm not cool enough for a tattoo, so I just didn't get one. But about the same time as I started, teaching myself how to silk screen and print shirts and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's actually not a bad name to go by.
In response to his mural initially being defaced last year, Saporiti released a statement encouraging supporters to practice unity, positivity, and peace, just like the design symbolizes. And following both events, Adrien restored his first mural for the public to enjoy once again.
It's art, so not everyone's gonna get it, nor should they, and not everyone's gonna like it, nor should they. But for the most part, I think people, whether they, really think about it, or again, they're just walking by and they see it, I think it has had a positive impact overall. So, I mean, and certainly the reach and exposure of it is beyond anything, I could have ever really thought of. I literally, again, was like, I don't know what to do with this. Let me just put it up as a mural. I've never done a mural, but let's see what happens.
What's happened is an entrepreneurial success story with a positive cultural impact. I want to say thanks again to Adrien for letting me stop by his shop for this interview, and you can find his business across social media at DCXV Industries.